Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Tuesday, February 26, 2019. Hope everyone's having a great evening. Let's get you caught up on some headlines from around the world. But first, let's take a look at thegrandsolarminimum.com, where you will find the video embedded up here at the top of the article titled February Weather Records Broken, Grand Solar Minimum News. And a lot of people just hit the play button and follow along because basically the show is in order to the links that we provide for each story that we cover tonight. But let's get started first with some solar wind speeds of 310.2 kilometers per second with a density of 6.8. Now I will go over to SPACEWEATHER.com just to show you guys we are getting ready to enter an entire month with 0 sunspots. And a month without sunspots, it could happen. The sun has already been without sunspots since the beginning of February. Only 2 more days are necessary for an entire month of spotlessness. This long interval of blank sun as a sign of solar minimum is underway. This phase of the solar cycle brings extra cosmic rays, long-lasting holes in the sun's atmosphere, and strangely pink auroras. However, if you know why there's pink aurora in the atmosphere in the first place, you'll know that pink indicates the presence of nitrogen. So the brighter pink it is, the more nitrogen is in our atmosphere. And what does nitrogen do, folks? That's right, and that's why we see the nitrogen being indicated during these minimums, because the atmosphere is cooling. Now, this solar wind that we're going to be experiencing on the 27th of February, which is tomorrow, I do expect a chance of a G1 geomagnetic storm. With the width of the storm, I wouldn't be surprised to see solar wind speeds exceed 550 to 600 kilometers. NOAA's playing safe at 500 kilometers per second. We talked about this since late last week, and now it has come to fruition as we are expecting the results from this here in the next several hours. But again, 26 days in a row without sunspots on the sun, and the TCI actually coming in as well. A little bit warmer than was the past. The last time we covered this, we were in the low 3s. Now we're at 3.93 billion watts up at TCI index. And we're taking a look over at the space weather section here at thegrandsolarminimum.com and looking at the KP indices. Very, very quiet, I should say. What I was trying to say as well is that being quiet in the KP indice, low solar wind, plus a spike in activity tomorrow, we could be on a quake watch here over the next 72 hours. Anything from a 6.0 or higher is very possible, if not several, in the next coming hours. So we will keep our eyes on that. There is our star right now. Let's take a look at the SDO in motion. Check out this coronal hole. The width of it is not as impressive as once was thought. So maybe that's why NOAA is scaling back that 500 kilometers per second instead of my thinking, which I thought possibly could have been around somewhere near the 600 kilometers per second range. Nevertheless, other than that, there's no sunspots to speak of, no solar flares, no CM. It is up all the way. And taking a look on the rest of our star, backside, we have a couple bright regions. Here's the front. Here's the eastern limb. And we do have a couple of bright regions in the equatorial area and the southern equatorial region as well. So with that being said, we have 2 more days of February left. And we will see if...
I'm going to just turn up the volume because we have a lot of people saying, what is up with the volume, Jake? So just to, help you out there, Jake. I'm sorry to interrupt, but people need it to be a little bit more beefy,
right.
I guess. So
We'll
let's
see what
beef
that
this
looks.
up.
That's
right?
the output. There's the input, yeah.
There we go.
All
So
right, we'll see how that goes. How's that out there,
all right.
folks? All right.
That should make everyone happy. All right, now.
It happens from time to time. But anywho, so we're looking good as far as possibly going an entire month without sunspots. And, we've seen active regions on our star like this before that were much bigger and came to nothing. So very possible. We were flinging around a few numbers. A person in the comments section a few days ago was asking for predictions on sunspots. How many days are we going to go in a row without it? And his pick was pretty safe. He was at 35, but he compared it to the last minimum, the years coming up to the minimum, and took a pretty good educated guess, I believe. I went a little higher. I'm saying 43, 48, somewhere in that area, days without a sunspot. I don't have much faith that we will see any sun activity, if not longer than that. So we'll have to just keep watching it. There is always that opportunity for a growth of a sunspot that just appears right before our eyes as we're looking at SDO in motion anyway. So anything is possible, of course. We'll leave it on the table. Take a look at TSI for February 17th, 2019. Once again, we are looking at values at 1360.7280. Now that's down from the peak. Once again, we've seen another reading in TSI, 1360.7767. And I talked about this Saturday, where I've never seen a dip of this nature and an increase. This signature, it's not very common. So interesting to see how things will continue to turn out as we move through March and into April. The temperatures have fluctuated. Europe right now, you're in the 70-degree Fahrenheit range. It's like, you know, where did winter go all of a sudden? All right, let's get started on a few headlines from around the world. First, we'll start European monthly rainfall record broken in Crete. Major floods destroy historic bridge. This we brought up Saturday, the floods in Crete that started on the 24th and 25th. This continues the story. Between February 1st and the 26th, the meteorological station of the National Observatory of Athens, located in Askafo, China, recorded 47.32 inches of rain, breaking pan-European monthly rainfall record in a residential area. The previous record was set in Grandalen, Norway in 1989 with 46.85 inches of rain. Askafo recorded astonishing 12.6 inches of rain from midnight to the afternoon of February 25th. More than 9.4 inches of rain was recorded elsewhere in the prefecture. And taking a look at these daily rain totals here. Reads on here from Saturday morning, February 23rd until Tuesday morning, February 26th. Registered around 19.52 inches of rain. That's in Sembranos in China, which is 40.9% of its average annual rainfall. Quite impressive. The latest storm, named Oceans by Metro Greece, caused floods and landslides, forcing numerous high water rescues across the island and closures of schools and roads. An 111-year-old bridge was destroyed here. I'll go ahead and mute this sound out. Let's take a look at the footage. They were actually recording live as it happened, and just you could see some of the people definitely were not happy. Here comes the bridge coming down. 111 years of history gone, folks, and this man here understands what just happened. But just devastating weather all over the world. Also, I want to mention that we had footage from that region, not that exact region, but heavy snow. Cars were buried in snowfall, so we had just about a little bit of everything around here. Here's that hail. Exceptionally thick hail accumulations on the national road from Rhethium to Heracleon, Crete last night, February 24th. And it looks like it just dropped about 3 feet of snow. I mean, clear, you can't move when you've got that kind of snow build like that, or ice hail, I should say. This is like a very heavy icing. So very, very messy stuff here. Thanks to the watchers once again for highlighting more news. And this all happened around the same time as well, guys. Malta hit by worst storm since October 22nd, 1982. Absolutely stunning footage of the seas, how angry they were. And the irony about this is this all seemed to happen Sunday, Monday, and we're dealing with windstorms in the Northeast, the Midwest, looking at waves the size of stuff you see in the movies. Very interesting day for Sunday and Monday for most of the world. Powerful storm hit the Mediterranean island of Malta on February 24th with hurricane-force winds and tidal surges all along the coast. The same storm caused record gusts in Split, southern Croatia, killed 4 people in central Italy, and caused major flood and damage across Greek island of Crete, which they're wrapping up this storm here in Malta as well. Although there were no reports of injuries, the Prime Minister of Malta said the storm was the worst to hit the country since October of 1982, when 4 people had lost their lives. Wind speeds ranged between 55 and 64 miles an hour across the island, with a record gust of 82 miles per hour. The country recorded 46.5 millimeters, that's only an inch 0.8 of rain, but it received more than half of that during the entire month of February. So that's quite a bit of rain for this area for that. Take a look at a little bit of footage here as the angry seas just swallowing docks and decks all over the coast. Definitely the shoreline got a lot smaller today, or that day I should say. But this was a common thing across the internet, was watching all this high wind. Of course, we saw the ice from the Buffalo, which we have footage of that on Facebook. I can get to that in a little bit as well. The storm brought near freezing temperatures to parts of Malta, recording temperatures of 35 degrees Fahrenheit at local time 1910 on the 24th of February. The main line supplying water to Gonzo from Malta suffered serious damage. The Prime Minister said, adding the number of historical sites also sustained damage, including Heritage Malta's head office, Hagar Quim temples, Fort St. Angelo, the Toxian temples, Visitor Center, St. Paul's catacombs, and the Domes Romana, I should say. The farming sector has also suffered extensive damage. The department says they received 468 emergency calls on that day for assistance. They collected 150 tons of debris with another 30 tons expected by the 26th, which is today. There were 111 traffic accidents across the state and Malta today as well. Absolutely stunning pictures, guys. The size of these waves crashing along this lighthouse. Guys can check this out. Watchers.news once again, giving all the details, all the info. Let's move on to our next headline. Coldest February in downtown Los Angeles since 1962. Let's check this out. It says here, February of 19 has been a very cold month across southwestern California with just 4 days remaining in the month. The February ranks as coldest February in downtown Los Angeles since 1962. Downtown Los Angeles, the average daily mean temperature for the month is through the 24th is now 53.3 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's 5.6 degrees below average for this time of year. Even more noteworthy, the average high temperature from the month of downtown in Los Angeles has been just 60 degrees 0.6 Fahrenheit. That's a full 4.4 or 8 degrees Fahrenheit below the normal average high. Temperatures for February, which is 20.3 degrees Celsius right now, currently. In the downtown Los Angeles, both average daily high temperature for the month of February and average daily mean temperature for the month of February are the lowest since those recorded in February 1962. During that month, the average high was just 59.8 degrees, so they're not that far from it now at this point. But that was the lowest February ever. You think it's been cold in southwestern California this month, and they're showing all the links of the records that were broken. Check this out. This, and it's, I get it. These people aren't used to it. This is cold to them. This is perfect weather for most of us here in the Northeast. 59 is perfect jeans and hoodie weather. Maybe some of us wearing cargo shorts. Take a look at the link in our description, once again, for all the detailed summaries here. It says here, the other months with high temperatures failing to reach 70 degrees were in December of 1889, 1890, March of 1912, January of 1916, and January of 1937. This is basically highlighting that this will be the first such month in over 80 years since January 37 that we had a month without a 70-degree temperature for the average. So, impressive cold record falls once again, but these are some old records here. 1962 was the last one, but we rank 4th right now at 60.4 degrees Fahrenheit. That's not too far. That's only 0.6 degrees away from actually the record. So 2019 jumping out at you there. All right. So I've got a couple of things to talk about tonight. Actually, that went out of order here. Let me go back to this. The snow just keeps on coming out here in Pendleton, Oregon. And I don't think that link is working. I do apologize, but this sums it up. More snow is in the forecast this week, as the weekend alone saw hefty accumulations. Pendleton received 7 inches, and Walla Walla got 4 inches. In the mountains, it's been a snowy winter. Roadside snow measurements at Meacham stand about 60 inches, with Tollgate having around 130 inches of roadside snow. National Weather Service says that there's a short break today, but more is on the way. And while we're in the West Coast, let's talk about the atmospheric river once again that stands to pummel California. Let's take a look here at weather.com. Another atmospheric river is pounding California with feet of snow in the Sierra, and I mean feet. February snow records are falling in the Sierra. The combination of this plus high winds is shutting down travel in the Sierra as well. Heavy rain has also triggered flooding, mudslides, rock slides in Northern California. High winds are also pounding the Sierra Crest and areas downwind, including Reno and Nevada. Another atmospheric river event is pummeling California with feet of snow in the Sierra Nevada mountains, shattering February snow records at some ski resorts while also triggering floods, rock slides, and mudslides in lower elevations. Many ski locations reported at least a foot of snow in 24 hours. Caltrans reported 40 inches of snow had fallen in 24 hours in Donner's Pass. Despite all the snow, it was too windy to ski at Sierra resorts. Lifts were on hold at Mammoth Mountain, and some lifts were closed Monday at Heavenly. Strong winds have also been blasting parts of Northern California and Nevada. Winds gusted 50 to 60 miles per hour in Reno. Rain is soaking the lower elevations of Northern California, mainly north of Interstate 80, that has triggered flooding and some landslides. Let's take a look at this atmospheric river once again. This is what, the third one that we've seen this winter? Yeah, atmospheric rivers are now classified somewhat analogous to hurricanes. This atmospheric river is being categorized as a Category 3 event, meaning it's not only beneficial for the state's water supply, but also hazardous in terms of threats from floods and landslides. Additional snow and rain. We're going to see several feet, up to 10 feet of snow is what's being heard Wednesday above the 4,500 elevation there at the Sierra. It says Mammoth Mountain has already clobbered its previous snowy record, picking up 198 inches of snow this month. Squaw Valley is likely to set its snowiest month on record, already measuring over 21 feet of snow this month before this storm kicked into gear. Yikes. This gentleman here is 5'10", just to give you an idea what he's standing up against. Tuesday morning, a snow depth of 226.9 inches was estimated by the National Resources Conservation Service network at a sensor about 20 miles southwest of Truckee, California. Another sensor at Nevada's Mount Rose ski area estimated a whopping 320 inches of snow cover at elevation of 8,850 on the 8,850 feet. Most importantly, the Sierra is an important source of water for California when winter snowpack melts in the dry season from late spring to early fall. We already discussed some of the levels falling. According to California Department of Water Resources, statewide water content of Sierra snowpack was estimated to be 41% above average for February. And a lot of the drought now, guys, is in the yellow. It went from the bright oranges and the reds to the yellows to the light tan colors. we've seen the drought levels in just 60 days drop over 50%, folks. That's pretty incredible. Some areas even more. Winter Storm Orion. We'll get into that right now, and I'll also show you guys on the GFS. Weather.com. This one is just going to be a quick hitter. We are going to experience winter weather from this, but this is nothing. Wow, all these ads. Winter Storm Orion will spread accumulating snow across the upper Midwest and the Northeast through Wednesday. So this is going to include Boston, Hartford, Connecticut, and New York City along Interstate 95 corridor. Orion brought snow to the Pacific Northwest, Sierra Nevada, Northern Rockies at the beginning of the week. And this is light, guys. About 1 inch to 2 inches. Bismarck, Fargo on Tuesday. 2.4 inches in South Dakota. It looks like the majority of central Michigan, Detroit, you guys are looking at a possibility of 1 inch to 3 inches of snow. Nothing major in the system coming at us. 1 to 3, most of Michigan. Upper Peninsula may see 3 to 5. Most of New York, you're looking at about 1 to 3, a possibility of 3 to 5 in some localized areas. But for the most part, we're looking at around 3 to 5 inches of snow throughout the Northeast. And here they show a map where we're actually going to see the snowfall. And it's not a very wide area, if you ask me. 1 to 3 inches in Boston, possibly. Some areas could get 6 inches, parts of western and central New York, the Berkshires of western Massachusetts as well. Winter Storm Orion brought snow to Willamette Valley, Oregon, late February 24th into the 25th. There was more significant snow in southern parts of Willamette Valley. So this obviously lost its punch as it moved across. Now, some areas are looking at 5 to 8 inches across central New York. So we won't rule out a possibility of 1 foot or more in some of these areas that are south of these lakes. Pardon me, folks. Some interior parts of Oregon saw 2 to 3 feet of snow, including 36 inches in Bend and 30 inches in Redmond. So like I said, a lot of this had a lot of punch further west. Idaho, look at this. 46.5 inches of snow in Featherville, 36 inches near Grantsdale in Montana, 10.6 in Missoula, and 6 inches in Bozeman. North Dakota, 4.1. That's your biggest snow total. Bismarck just saw 1.7 inches and 1.5 inches in Fargo. Oregon, 48 inches in La Pine, 36 in Bend, 30 inches in Redmond, 12 in Eugene. South Dakota, same as North, 4.6 in Mobridge and 2.4 in Aberdeen. Washington State, 9.5 inches near Annatone and 5.5 inches in Kennewick. But we are watching this storm move across the country, and I'll show you guys here in a little bit when we get into our GFS outlook. All right. And there might be a couple. Here we go. So, once again, we have AOC in the news. It's almost a daily thing. If you don't see her on Facebook or at some town hall or anywhere, she's everywhere. I'm curious if she's been cloned. But more and more talk is coming out about what it's going to cost us. And estimated costs are labeled here for just a few things. Low carbon electricity grid, they're estimating that cost will be $5.4 trillion. That's estimated $39,000 per household. It's going to cost you. Net zero emissions, transportation systems, around $3 trillion. It's going to cost you, the consumer, about $9,000 to $20,000 a year. Guaranteed jobs, what's going to cost the government to make these guaranteed jobs happen. 6.8 trillion to 44.6 trillion. It's going to cost estimated household 49,000 to 322,000. I'm not sure if that means the recipient gets that kind of income or if that's how much it's really going to cost you for this plan, tax-wise. Universal health care. The only thing in this person's agenda that I agree with, and I don't mean her plan, but just the fact that everyone does need health insurance, but we've got to figure out a better way to pay for it. Anyway, off topic, but 36 trillion. Where am I going with this? The original estimate of this new Green Deal was somewhere around 40. The ceiling was around 46 trillion. They say it was going to cost us $4.6 trillion in the first year. I say that's not going to be enough for the down payment of all the work that they intend to do with this. I'm very concerned that she's not concerned about why we're all freaking out about her radical ideas. And it's not because, like, she likes to think she's taking all this credit. And that's fine. But I got a video I want to show you guys real quick. And she's the boss. Let's see. I got the video right here. Thanks to What's Up With That. A lot of people are covering this one. But let's listen in here to what Cortez... She just thinks she's all that in a bag of Fritos.
I just introduced Green New Deal 2 weeks ago. And it's creating all of this conversation. Why? Because no one else has even tried. So people are like, oh, it's unrealistic. Oh, it's vague. Oh, it doesn't address this little minute thing.
Little minute thing, folks. What she's speaking of right there is the cost. Because it is vague. It's a very vague plan. But the minute thing that she's talking about, she's sick of it. She's on the defense now. She's tired of hearing flack about how much this is going to cost.
And I'm like, you try. You do it. Right. Because you're not. So until you do it, I'm the boss.
Well then. So there you have it, folks. Your 29-year-old bartender, all of a sudden phenom congresswoman, is your boss. She's your daddy. Okay? I would applaud her for trying if her policies actually matched up with what's actually happening on this planet right now. If she had ideas that would help clean the air and not say this is all for the case of mankind because we're going to die in 10 years. She was on Facebook once again, telling people that we're going to die in 10 to 12 years because of the climate, what it's going to be like in 12 years. She also raises the question of, is it okay to have children anymore? Which, I mean, what is going on? And from what I understand, several Democrats are on board with this, if not the entire party. So, for folks like me and you, this year's election process and next year's election process is going to be one for the record books. It's going to be climate change versus the real science. And this is where I applaud Trump for starting the process. Here it says the Trump administration is planning to create an ad hoc group of federal scientists to reassess and counter the government's conclusions on climate change. The Washington Post reported on Sunday. They were all butthurt. The NSC initiative would create feature scientists who challenge the seriousness of climate change and the degree to which humans are the cause of climate problems. Three unidentified administration officials told the Post. The Post reported that the plan was discussed by administration officials on Friday in the White House Situation Room. It is considered a modified version of NSC Senior Director and Climate Change denier, William Happer, planned to create a panel on climate change, national security, according to the newspaper. So, this is the beginning of the preparation of the campaign. He's putting together a panel that's going to challenge the so-called consensus of what's happening with the climate. This is going to be good, folks. The fireworks are going to be flying. Absolutely. So anyone that follows this channel and other channels alike, it's clear to see what's going to happen. I hate to say it, some of you don't like politics, but a lot of you are upset about how we get taxed for carbon taxes and this Green Deal. No one likes it. Nobody wants it. Well, it's important that you get on that bandwagon and you vote those people out that want this Green New Deal. The fortunate part is someone is finally taking a stand on the man-made global warming theory. I mean, it took this administration to show the balls to challenge it. I've heard Rick Perry talk about climate change and energy. He doesn't have a clue. He is simply just a puppet for his party, and they tell him to put the glasses on to make it look like you know what you're talking about, the climate and energy, because he doesn't have a clue. Mr. Trump, however, he's doing the right thing. He's doing it the right way, bringing in scientists, create new debate about new research, about what's actually happening, about how these climate alarmists are causing fear and panic, and also influencing political policies for political gain and profit. The days of the NOAA manipulation, this is what I'm hoping for, is that this type of action, these kind of panels, are going to shut down these frauds once and for all. And boy, is it going to be a bad day when they finally do pull the plug on this hoax. And then they're going to ask questions. And no one's going to have to come up with some answers, some big time answers. Because it's not just the theory they're following, but it's the way they're manipulating the data. The way they've manipulated the data for the past several years. All because of $2.5 billion of federal grant money gets released every year to study man-made global warming. Everybody's got to get a piece somehow, right? So it's important that we keep our eyes here glued to channels like What's Up With That. Keep our eyes on the news. Climate change is going to get a lot of press, big time press, guys. It's kicked into full gear now. And all I got to say is it's about time that we start seeing things that show both sides of the story, not just the so-called consensus. All right, let's take a look at our GFS forecast outlook here. Nothing too wild coming up. We got this little minor clipper that's coming through here in the northeast through tomorrow into Thursday. More snow coming in from the northwest. That next system will trek across the same track we just saw and try to get its act together and hit the northeast once again. But a decent round of weather coming through to the east here on the 3rd. Starting with Illinois, Missouri, Indiana, and Southwest Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio, Dayton, Columbus, Cleveland, especially in the Dayton-Springfield area. This looks like it could be a 5 to 8 inch event possible. More cold air behind this as well. The Northeast this weekend, possible we could see another 3 to 5 inches. So we might get another 1 to 3 inches here throughout New York tomorrow, and another 3 to 5 possible this weekend going into Sunday. And then high pressure settles in most of the country after that. Starting the week off of March 4th, high pressure across most of the country, colder air all the way into the south. Moisture in Florida Panhandle moves off quickly. Again, quiet, guys, all the way through Tuesday. This is the longest I think I've seen on this map in the past several weeks, with, for the most part, mild to zero precipitation. But here is that atmospheric river we have on the 5th of March, and that starts up into Wednesday, and you just see that low pressure system finally making all the way landshore by the 7th. So this starts on the 5th, goes on through the 7th, still going through the 8th, before finally tapering off by March 9th. Now, while that's happening in California, guys, this is going to be a multi-day event, so there's going to be a lot of action. We also have another storm system moving across the United States, going from the northwest across the Midwest, the northern plains, into the eastern part of the United States. This is going to be more of a mid-Atlantic state storm. Philly, you might see all rain from this. New York City might get some snow. Boston as well. That low pressure moves off. And then we have another big low pressure system. This storm is trying to get its act together here. Now, this is the 10th of March. And there's some struggles of back and forth on temperature here for the eastern part of the United States into the northeast. Mainly, this is going to be a rain event at first. As this storm makes its way through the northeast, the tail end is going to bring colder air with a chance of heavier snow at the end of this on March 12th. Now, this is a long way out, so a lot can happen. Temperatures can still shift, and favorable conditions can be for snow. For most of you out here, we've seen our share of snow and ice this year. So a possibility of a decent-sized system. We'll have to just keep our eyes on it. Iowa, eastern Iowa, possibility with these lines as close as they are here. We could see blizzard-like conditions. Not quite a blizzard, but blizzard-like conditions with this snow for most of Iowa on the 11th of March. And past that, again, a little bit quieter, but more rain starting to come into the south as we head into mid-March. We've got another drencher in the south, more snow and rain coming in from the northwest. So definitely active weather pattern after we get a brief break here in the beginning of this weather pattern as we get through tomorrow's little clipper system and into the 1st of March. That moisture leaves the area. Really not until the 3rd and 4th of March do we see a break in the action for the United States. Some snow showers in the Rockies, but as we move into the 5th, finally that's when that atmospheric river kicks in. So after March 5th, it's going to be a bumpy ride for the northwest, western part of the United States, the northern plains, the Midwest, all the way into the Atlantic states as well. 2 big systems coming across country with 2 more systems on the map by mid-March, and we'll just have to keep our eyes as far as the temperatures look. Not too far below average for March right now. That cold air that we were talking about before, the coldest of it is happening right now. Through the rest of February into the early part of March, this is probably the last time we're going to see a cold surge this deep. Maybe one more shot, but we are at the beginning of March. And as I show you the GFS temperature outlook, after the 7th of March, we start to see 40s and 50s trying to push its way back up. And look at this. March 10th, Ohio. All that snow, you guys, that's gone. It's melting. Could see isolated 70-degree days. Some more cold air tries to make its way through March 11th, but only regulating temperatures to about average temperatures in March. 40s and 50s for much of the Midwest and the East Atlantic. Northeast, we're still freezing, 28 and 30. But still, that's pretty typical for this time of year. Looking at the high temperatures forecasted for March 14th, I've indicated this as well. It does appear, and maybe I'm wrong, but it does appear that we could be looking at the beginning of more slightly above average temperatures in March for most of the country in mid-March to late March. But my concern isn't about really the temperatures going into April. It's about all this moisture. And this is something that we're going to watch really closely again like we did last year. And that's how many dry days do these farmers get in these fields. Especially when we're talking about the South, the Midwest, the Northern Plains, farming areas across Kansas and Nebraska. they've seen their fair share of moisture. In Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Georgia, floodwaters, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, floodwaters. That's going to be my real big concern once we get past this winter weather. As far as any more major snowstorms, maybe one more hoorah around the 10th, 11th, and 12th of March. But after that, we could see temperatures kind of regulating back into average, as we're talking about right now, El Nino. I don't see it still, but hey, it's being announced that it's here, and it's being called a double El Nino because it's going to go through the summer. So that doesn't mean the strength or anything is different. But in the region that matters the most, it's still below where it needs to be. I mean, we're looking at temperatures right now at 0.455 above baseline. It's still below the threshold for El Nino officially. Cold air gripping most of the U.S. These are wind chills as of tonight, February 26, 2019. Taking a look at our snow cover for the northern hemisphere. That looks like a pretty healthy winter if you ask me. But you definitely get the sense that things are winding down for the winter. Not for everybody, but maybe for the Midwest, parts of the central part of the United States, parts of the East Coast. Maybe winter is winding down. The Northeast, it's possible we'll still see freezing temperatures through the rest of March, but 40s may be on the way soon. Taking a look at our ice growth once again this year, guys. We're nearing that part where we peak out at our ice growth before we start spring in the northern hemisphere. And again, when you compare it to last year, we are blowing 2018 out of the water, beating 2017 as well. So clearly you can see all the sea ice growth now is even stronger than what we had in 2015 and 14. So 7 years. This is the strongest ice growth that we've had in the Arctic in 7 years at this point. So when you hear people talking about the temperatures in the Arctic are melting the caps, that's fake news. You know that's a lie. Again, guys, all the links to everything that we're showing you tonight is conveniently placed, and thank you to my producer, Mari. She takes the time and puts all these links, these graphs update daily for us. I encourage everyone to get on the website as we're doing the broadcast. The very top here of this article is the current show that we're doing right now, embedded. So as you're listening to the video, you can follow right along. We're still working hard to make this website the best it possibly can. We do have a social media aspect that we're trying to get started on this website. Simply register and then create a username and a password, and you can create your own profile. It's basically Facebook for Grand Solar Minimum followers. Encourage everyone to check out our Twitter, our Facebook pages. We have a closed group and a regular open group as well. And honestly, it doesn't take much to become a member of the closed group. The closed group is more for links, articles, papers on Grand Solar Minimum related. The open Facebook group is where we share a lot of videos and whatnot and other things that we do as far as research. But that being said, Mari, did you have anything you'd like to say tonight before we exit the air?
I'm going to try to talk. I wasn't going to get on the radio or I'm not doing good today, people. I'm recovering from the flu and my lungs feel like they are on fire. So I'm equipped with a cough drop and I'm going to give this a go, Jake. We got a super chat from Generic. What a clever name. Jen space Eric. But it's Jen, G-E-N, generic. Get it, Jake? And the super chat says, a few weeks ago, I think I saw a triskelion. I think it's like a spiral motif, like 3 spirals, like in rotation symbol. Saw that in a coronal hole. Makes them wonder whether or not sun wheels of the ancient are based on literal symbols visible on the sun. And there's a lot of things about symbology, like with like sun sprites and Thunderbolts Project
Yeah.
and different symbolism of ancient times. There's a lot of resources out there. Sun wheels, I've always thought them to be like the different sun halos. If you look at some of them, you got like the superlateral arc and parhelion, sun pillars, all that. So it's an interesting, very fascinating topic when you dig into the history of it. So thank you for commenting. Concerned Canadian saw a report that it was up to 90 plus trillion, which would equate to 300,000 per household, making it over 30K. She's one spun biatch.
Yeah, right. It's just no one's.
So, yeah, everyone had a laugh with AOC. I mean, she's just ridiculous. It's unreal, isn't it? Like you watch TV these days, or things you see on on. I can't talk. I'm not doing good today, Jake. On social media, and it's just shocking. It's like, is this real, or is this just a bad Twilight Zone episode?
This face says it all. That finger in the air.
Oh, she's the boss. Then we have a new person who just got recommended. He's just like chilling out on YouTube, and it said GSM was live, and he's like popping in, finding out what's up with our channel. Are we just about weather? Are we boring, or is this rather interesting? And everyone in the chat has done such a great job getting him up to speed about grand solar minimum, all the different fascinating aspects.
How about that?
Whoa.
You heard it here.
Oh, God, Jake. What have you done? So, I don't know if I had anything. You know what we didn't cover? We're covering... I know you work all day, Jake, and you get the links together to cover whatever. We didn't cover a lot of the records that were broken in the South. So, I want to go over just a couple of them. Florence Crest was the third highest on record at 28.99 feet. The record is 32.5 feet, and that's from 1897 in March. Then we got Whiteberg's Crest at 22.91 feet.
And what state is this in?
This is in the South. Was this Tennessee? I think it's Tennessee. I just pulled up an article here. What I was saying is these records, the flooding and the river cresting are just insane. This is all with the Tennessee River. There's a bunch of different rivers and creeks that are overflowing. I'll do a separate video covering that extensively because it's so much.
You
It's
did
a
some
huge
of it
area.
already too. That video that you put out a few days ago had some footage from Tennessee. That's how real that these floods are insane. And yeah, you're right. I didn't cover that area.
And I shared on our Facebook page, and I believe on also Twitter, the charts of the river cresting, highs and lows, where they should be at, where they're going to be forecasted at through the weekend. And I also shared a video that one of our viewers, Kathy, messaged
in Alabama.
me. Yeah. On Facebook. So definitely check it out, and I will come up with something a little bit more elaborate to cover that, because that's a whole nother section of information we should be covering.
Absolutely.
So thank you all for tuning in, and I hope you have a great night. I made it. I did it.
Good
Jake,
job, Maury.
without coughing.
All right. So with that being said, guys, we're going to go ahead and leave you with that. And the look on her face says it all right now. I can tell you that. But guys, thank you very much for tuning in. I know our schedule is very sporadic. I think we'll try to do a show Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern time, unless there's absolutely something news breaking that we have to get through tomorrow night. But Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And then we are also doing a show this Sunday. I think I found my voice, so hopefully we will have Henrik, the Danish Grand Solar Minimum channel, joining us to talk a little bit about the climate, some of the headlines out there, and I'm sure he's got a good story to tell us about his dog as well. So anyway, with that being said, guys, we want to thank you for tuning in once again, and we will talk soon, guys. Take care.